2-2 the count on Wade, and a swing at a multiple innings on their added roster. Sean to the lead man in the second, and that one's in there. Here's a 1-2 and the season. Here's a 1-2, and Chorizo brought an Italian last year. Matter of fact, led offense. Little half swing. Was disappointed with himself. And the 0-2.
If she could withstand that heat in Colorado
in the game. Here. And Dodgers in last year with the Braves. Oh, he struck him out. Wow. Just carved him up on a curveball.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Heading into this start against the Dodgers, Burnes had actually been pitching really well, as he had a 2.48 ERA and 187 strikeouts through 24 starts. A little bit of context around this start. This was his second time facing the Dodgers in 5 days, so his arsenal of pitches were probably still pretty fresh in the hitters' heads. And also, the Dodgers are quite literally the best hitting team in baseball with the highest weighted on base percentage in the MLB. And they also have the most hitting depth of any team in the majors. So this is definitely a tough task for Burnes here. The Dodgers jump on Burnes in the first as Mookie leads the game off with a double down the left field line. And Freddie Freeman singles him in. Inning, Burnes is going to issue a 3-2 walk to Gallo and a 3-2 walk to Bellinger as well. So this brings up Trayce Thompson with 2 outs, and Burnes is going to leave a 2-2 cutter right down the heart of the plate, and Thompson's going to hit a 3-run homer. It continues to get worse for Burnes here as Trayce Thompson comes up again, and this time he's going to deliver an RBI single past Adames. Now this was technically ruled a single, but this is definitely a play Adames should be making in my opinion. You can see from the overhead look that he just doesn't get a good jump on the ball, and by that time it's just too late. Turner pours more salt on the wound here as he singles in Trayce Thompson to make it a 6-0 ball game, as the wheels have completely fallen off for Burnes. You can tell this is one of those days for Burnes as Turner hits it like 55 miles an hour off the bat and it just perfectly finds a hole. To make matters worse, Burnes is going to get charged with another run as Suter comes in to relieve him and Freeman gets another RBI single. To his credit though, listen to what Burnes has to say at the end of this game about how he pitched. He's very aware.
Really in those first 2 innings just made 2 bad pitches. The slider that I hung to Betts and then the cutter to Thompson that he hit out. Obviously the walks. And then the fourth was just kind of anything that could go wrong kind of went wrong. Anything they touched kind of found a hole or dropped in. So just one of those nights that obviously are frustrating, but they happen in baseball, and you got to new day tomorrow and get back on track.
This is actually a really good attitude by Burnes because he knows he didn't pitch well, but at the same time, every ball found a hole. His defense didn't help him out at all, and he just faced this team 5 days prior. So he maintains a good attitude, and this will definitely come in handy later on. Moving on to Burnes' next start, he has the Pirates, and unlike his previous start against the Dodgers, he didn't struggle early. He actually didn't give up any runs through 4 innings, but he runs into trouble in the 5th, giving up back-to-back-to-back base hits to start the inning. And against the Pirates, that's usually not a problem, except for the fact that O'Neal Cruz is now stepping to the plate with 2 men on. And unfortunately for Burnes, Cruz is going to hit this ball about 200 miles an hour into right field for a 3-run homer. This is actually really funny as you can see Narvaez lowers his head right as Cruz hits it because he knows he crushed it. This is actually a really good example of why missing a spot just 3 or 4 inches in the big leagues can cost you so big. You can see Narvaez is set up low and away, and here's why. Looking at Cruz's breakdowns, we can see he's terrible at the low and away pitch, but he's also unbelievably good at hitting the middle low pitch. You can see his expected weighted on base is 685 in that zone. His expected slugging is around 900 in that zone, and it's just 211 in the low and away pitch. And these are his total strikeouts. You can see pretty much the majority of his strikeouts come in that low and away spot. And you can see the spot that Burnes actually put it in. The Pirates tack on another run here from a solo shot from Rodolfo Castro to make it a 5-3 game. Burnes gets out of that inning, but his day is over, and he ends up giving up 5 earned runs over 6 innings with 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, and 2 home runs given up. Definitely a rough start, especially considering he was home against the Pirates, which is expected to be an easier matchup for him. It's also worth noting that this game Burnes' velocity was down pretty much across the board. Okay, moving on to Burnes' next start, we have the Brewers at the Diamondbacks on September 3rd. And the way this game starts is just a perfect encapsulation of how these last couple starts have gone.
Rojas sees an opportunity. Burnes cannot get to it, and Josh is aboard.
Now you may be asking yourself, why is this man bunting on a 3-2 count to lead off the game? And it's actually not that crazy when you think about what Burnes is trying to do. He's trying to pitch him low and away every single pitch. Plus there's a shift on, so I think Rojas knows that he can just lay one down to the left side because there's going to be no one there. And that's exactly what he does. And Burnes just can't field it because he's so surprised by it. He then walks Varsho on a pitch that actually should have been strike 3, and then gives up an RBI single to the rookie Corbin Carroll, who drives in Rojas to make it 1-0. Varsho comes up again in the bottom of the second, and he skies one deep to right field in what looks to be a home run, but it ends up just being a sac fly. But still, the Diamondbacks now have 2 runs. We move to the bottom of the 5th now, and it's Varsho again. And this time he does actually hit it out for a solo shot. That'll make it 3-3 heading into the 6th. To start off the 6th, Alek Thomas hits a single into left field. And Cooper Hummel is going to hit a deep double to center field to bring in Thomas to make it a 4-4 game. And that's going to do it for Burnes. Brad Boxberger comes in to relieve him, and again he does not get any help from his bullpen, as he immediately lets up a run that is charged to Burnes. Burnes goes 5 2/3, surrenders 5 earned runs, striking out 5, giving up 3 walks, 1 home run, and 7 hits. Not a great start again. Okay, now on to the 14 strikeout masterclass from Corbin Burnes. And why was he so effective in this game? Number 1, he got ahead and stayed ahead in counts. This is a count breakdown of the percentage of pitches Burnes threw in each game where he was either behind in the count or even. And for even pitches, I'm using 1-1 and 3-2. I'm not using 0-0 because that would be every single first pitch to every single batter. And I'm not using 2-2 either because I personally think that's a pitcher's count. So you can see that against the Dodgers, the Pirates, and the D-backs, those percentages are pretty high. But against the Giants, it's at 23%, which is a lot lower. You can see he actually didn't even get into a 3-0 or a 3-1 count the entire game, which is pretty incredible. So I think this was an intentional strategy by Burnes to get ahead early in counts, and this is why. Here I have 7 out of the 9 hitters from that lineup, and you can see none of them like to swing at the first pitch. They all have below average first pitch swing rates. The MLB average is 31%, and you can see these guys are all in the 20s, and even one of them is actually in the teens, Luis Gonzalez. So getting ahead early allows Burnes to get into more 2-strike counts. And the reason that's good is because he's very effective at putting guys away. Put away rate is just how often a 2-strike pitch results in a strikeout. And you can see Burnes ranks top 10 with his cutter in put away rate for starters that have thrown over 1,000 pitches. So he's very good. Out of the 27 batters he faced, Burnes threw a first pitch strike to 19 of them. And of those 19 batters, 17 of them are retired. And of those 17, 12 were by way of the strikeout. Just for reference, the first pitch strike percentage in the MLB is around 57%, and this game Burnes had an average of 70%. So that's some insane effectiveness. That's having a plan and executing it. And part of the reason he was able to execute this strategy so well is because his velocity was just up. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that when your velocity is up, you're generally just going to be better. This was a game where everything went right for Burnes. He even got help from his defense. So to recap this masterpiece, Burnes goes 8 innings, gives up 3 hits, 1 run, strikes out 14, doesn't allow a walk or a home run on 100 pitches. And that is the most called strikes plus swinging strikes, which is basically just the CSW percentage stat, which was the highest in any start in 2022. And it was also the highest percentage CSW for any start, with a minimum of 50 pitches. Plus, his velocity was up across the board for every pitch. Let's listen to what Burnes had to say after the game.
Yeah, I mean, it felt good. Nothing crazy different from the last couple that I've had. Again, ball came out of the hand well. Stuff was breaking well. Just did a better job of commanding it early, forcing them to swing, make them swing at some pitches out of the zone, get some swing and miss. So, as far as the last couple outings to this one goes, I think just better of getting ahead, commanding the strike zone a little better. But as far as stuff and feeling wise, it was the same. That's kind of the approach we've seen a lot of teams taking against me. Kind of trying to wait me out early, get the pitch count up, and get me out of the game. Today we were able to, like I said, command it early and get ahead in counts, and then you saw the second and third time through they start swinging early, and then that's when you can really get in a roll and get some quick outs and get some of those swings and misses that you want.
It's interesting to hear Burnes talk about how he didn't actually change anything, and that actually might be true. I don't know if this is a sweet spot for him for his extension for each individual pitch or what, and same with his release point, if this was just exactly how he wanted it to be and all his mechanics just lined up or what. But all the data seems to back up that he just had an incredibly perfect outing and everything came together for him.